In this class, I'll be discussing elasticity of demand. Before we talk about elasticity of demand, then we need to answer a question. What is elasticity? What is elasticity? Elasticity. Elasticity in economics simply means the responsiveness of the dependent variable to a change in an independent variable. For example, you will recall that we have a demand function Q, that is quantity demanded is a function of price. Here we have the dependent variable because this quantity demanded depends on the price, while the price here is the independent variable. In other words, the quantity demanded is expected to respond to changes in the price of the commodity. For example, if the price increases, we expect the quantity demanded to fall, and when the price falls, we expect the quantity demanded to rise. That is responsiveness. And that is what the law of demand states. But the law of demand does not give us the quantitative explanation. It does not give us the quantitative measurement of the responsiveness. The law of demand only tells us the direction of the change, that when the price goes up, the quantity demanded will fall, and when the price falls, the quantity demanded will go up. We do not know the quantitative measurement of this, that is the magnitude of the change. This law does not tell us the magnitude of the change, that is the size of the change. It is the elasticity, through elasticity, that we can measure the size of the change in terms of number. Okay, so in other words, the elasticity simply implies the responsiveness of the dependent variable, which is this QD here, to a change in the independent variable, which is P here. So variable, independent variable, which is P here. We can also extend this function to, let's say we have Q as a function of P, also function of income. We know that quantity demanded is negatively related to the price and positively related to the income. That is, when the price rises, the quantity demanded will fall. Okay, that is why we have negative sign here. But for income, when the income rises, the quantity demanded also go up, and when the income falls, the quantity demanded also comes down. We may also want to measure the responsiveness, that is the response of this quantity demanded to a change in income, not the price at this time around. So this also is elasticity. In this case, we are also dealing with the elasticity. Okay. Now we can also talk about any other function. Okay, be it supply function. Let's say we have QS as a function of the quantity supply, the function of price. We may want to measure how responsive the quantity supply to a change in price. That also comes under elasticity. So in this slide, we'll be dealing with elasticity of demand. So therefore, what is elasticity of demand? What is elasticity of demand? Elasticity of demand measures the degree of responsiveness, that is the magnitude of responsiveness of the quantity demanded to a change in a determinant of demand. So we say elasticity of demand measures the degree, that is the size of responsiveness of the quantity demanded for a commodity to a change in a determinant of demand. So, determinants of demand include the price of the commodity itself, the price of the other commodity, and income of the consumer, and so on and so forth. But when we are dealing with elasticity of demand, there are three popular determinants we normally consider. So the first determinant, that is the popular determinant, usually consider. In this case, one, we have the price of the commodity, itself, that is the price of the commodity in question, to the price of the other commodity, or of the related, if you like, the related commodity, and lastly, income of the consumer. So these are the three determinants usually considered when we are dealing with elasticity of demand. So in other words, we can measure elasticity of demand in response to the price of the commodity. One. Two, we can also measure the responsiveness of the quantity demanded to the price of the other commodity. And three, lastly, we can also measure the degree of responsiveness of the quantity demanded to the income of the consumer. So therefore, based on this, we can have what we call the first thing, a price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. Okay, so when we are dealing with the price of we are only considering the price of the commodity, the question itself. So we are dealing with price elasticity of demand. So two, when we are dealing with the price of the other commodity, we want to know how responsive the quantity demanded for one commodity to the price of another commodity. For example, we want to know how responsive, that is, how does the change in the price of bonfita affect the quantity demanded for Milo? Now, we call that cross elasticity. Cross elasticity of demand. And lastly, we may want to consider how responsive the degree of how responsive the quantity demanded to a change in the consumer income. That's when the consumer income increases, we expect consumers to buy more of the commodity because they cannot afford more. And when the income falls, we expect the consumer to buy less of the commodity because they cannot afford less. So in other words, when we are considering the income of the consumer under the elasticity, so we are dealing with what we call income elasticity. Elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand. So, summary, elasticity of demand measures the degree of responsiveness of the quantity demanded for a commodity to a change in a determinant of demand. And I also let you know that there are three popular determinants usually considered when we are dealing with elasticity of demand. So the first one is price of the commodity. So when we are considering the price of the commodity, we are measuring the price elasticity of demand. So when we are the second one is price of the related commodity or commodities, if you like. If you have considered that, so we are dealing with cross elasticity of demand, or if you like, cross price elasticity of demand. And three, when we are dealing with the income of the consumer, that we want to measure the responsiveness of the quantity demanded to a change in the income of the consumer, we are considering income elasticity of demand. So how do we measure the elasticity of demand? Okay, in our next class, we'll be talking about how to measure the elasticity of demand. That is the price of demand, cross elasticity of demand, and also income elasticity of demand. So don't forget to like this video, drop your comment, and also share the video to benefit others. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.